Well, for me, I spent a lot of time with my mom. Shout out to my mom. Show me a grand. Shout out to her. But yeah, I spent a lot of time with her, and a lot of her teachings that she instilled with me from primary school, high school, college, even to right now, are still with me.
Welcome back to another episode of Let's Get Candid. I'm your host, Ziggy, definitely your homegirl now because we're like a few episodes in with my amazing co-host.
I'm Lori.
And today we have a really great conversation planned up for you. It's one that we've been trying to have for a very long time, that we've been talking about in the group chat. A lot of stuff going on in the group chat.
Yes,
and
definitely with our producers.
And we have to defend. A lot of times we have to defend positions, but we're so happy to have this conversation today because it's so timely. It's something that we feel is so necessary to have. So we're so happy to have Teray Smith and Aulden Smith here with us today to join into our hot conversation. So I will give them both an opportunity to briefly introduce themselves to our viewers who may not know them.
Well, my name is Teray Smith. I'm thankful to be on your show, and I'm looking forward to digging into the topics today.
Perfect.
Right.
My name is Aulden Smith, owner of Caicos Lux Clothing and Caicos View 364 The Booth, and I'm elated to be on your show, Let's Get Candid.
Perfect. So, Laura, what's today's topic going to be about? I know everyone's wondering because it's like, okay, we have two men, we have two females, and I'm sure everyone's going to think relationships. I'm pretty sure the first they're going to be like, okay, we're going to know what the guy's thinking, but it's a plot switch.
So essentially, like you said, Ziggy, in our group chat, when we're talking amongst everybody, a lot of the topics go down to the nitty gritty of why are men the way they are? Why are women the way they are, right? And with Let's Get Candid, we have a lot of women coming onto the show and giving their opinions, but it's like, wait, we need the men on to be able to represent for the men on stage,
The men
right?
community.
So what we're going to be talking about essentially is under boys to men. So looking at a deeper view on why are men the way they are, or at least the way women might perceive, or even are they truly like that? Is it just a perception? Mm-hmm. Also, what is it about men that we don't already know as women, Because I hate to say it, but women can be clueless too when it comes to men. Some things don't make sense to us.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're hoping that with these topics that we're going to go through, we're just going to figure out, okay, what is going on in the mind of the man? All right.
So, as you can see, we have a lovely and a very tight-packed episode for you today. It's going to be an hour-long segment, so please don't go anywhere. Stay right here with us, and we'll be right back.
This message is brought to you by Island Bargains.
And welcome back to Let's Get Candid. Right before we left, my co-host Ziggy and I, we were talking with our guests today, Al Smith and Teray Smith, about boys to men. We just touched on what the topic was going to unfold, but now we're going to dig a little deeper and see what we can get from having you two men on stage with us to have this great conversation, all right? So Z, what do you first want to know from them?
So let's start off with raising boys, right? So like the topic is raising boys to men. So we want to understand, per se, how does family structures play into that whole process of you becoming a man, right? And how does it impact you, as a man today? So either one, don't talk at one time.
Don't rush to speak.
Okay, so how should I begin? I was raised by my mother. I lived with her majority of my life. My father was always there also, so I got a best of both worlds from both of them. I think I was raised pretty decent. Seeing things that my mom and father went through, and my mom raising me from a actually baby to, I guess, 21.
When you become a man?
Yeah. And she kicked me out.
Kick you out the house, yeah?
Right. So I learned a lot of things from her, mostly being respectful, being patient, learning how to keep my cool, don't over exhort
Exaggerate,
myself, or keep my temper down. So it's a lot of things that she taught me that I implement into my life today.
Okay.
Perfect. What about you, Teray?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, same thing I was talking about for us, like, he grew up with his mom, and with me as well, I grew up with my mom, and, my father was there, but mainly just with my mom in the household. One of the biggest things was just educating me on things, you know what I mean? Not just telling me things, but actually educating me on things. As far as an example, as like, you could tell a child not to do that, but
Why?
you educating them on why you shouldn't do that. And I feel like that was a big role in for me developing in that phase from coming a boy to a man. And I feel like with a lot of parents and who's listening, I feel like especially in today's day, like the tools that I needed when I was 12 is different from today.
Yeah.
The tools
Right.
that someone that's 12 now would need, and I always feel like we always should rely on education because it's always evolving, with social media and the times that's happening, you just got to educate your kids, not just tell them to don't do that, but just to educate them on why you shouldn't do that or why you should do that. I feel like that's really big.
And it's funny you say that because I had a similar experience with my parents where I remember when I came back home from school and my mom would be like, "No, Lauren, you can't go out." And it was just like, well, I've been living alone in a different country.
So how are you gonna tell me
When
now?
you can tell me this. And I remember having to sit her down and say, I can understand reasoning. You taught me to understand why things work the way they work. So when you come to me and say, "Lauren, I don't want you to go out," say to me why. You know, I don't want you to go out because this might be dangerous. I don't want you to go out because you shouldn't be on the streets so much, you know?
Exactly.
And I think that's really important to have that why.
Yeah.
You know?
And I agree, like, back to what Al said, and I think tying, like, what everyone says, right? Principles is one thing I've been kind of noticing, like, teaching children principles to carry through their whole adult life. But what I want to understand a little bit more is that, so, okay, we learn our principles at home, right? But then you get into your community and you get around with your friends, and then this becomes a thing of, what should I stick to the principle that I've been taught, or do I follow with my friends, because it's fun, and they're gonna be like, "Man, boy, why you doing that? Like, your mommy ain't there, like, you's a little girl, stuff like that." So, it becomes this thing where my mom taught me one thing or my parents taught me one thing, and then now it's my friends are trying to direct me in another direction. So how has that been as a man?
Well, with friends, it's different because when you're around your friends, like you said, you're not around your parents, so you do whatever you want to do. But that's like when you're younger.
Yeah.
You do what your friends do. They influence you to do things. You're just having fun. But as you get older, it's like your friends get older, they get more mature. If they see you doing something stupid, they be like, "Yo, like, why you doing that? Why you into that?"
Exactly.
As you get older, things get more mature, and your friends don't allow you to do stupid things anymore. And that's where those traits that you've learned younger come into play as you get older, because everybody goes through their teenage years.
Yeah, having fun. Too much fun.
Doing things that
Do a
are,
bunch of fools.
doing stupidness.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that as a teenager going into getting 21, you mature more, and those traits that you learn and you remember, you be like, yeah, this is why she said that, or this is why my father said this, or why he punished me for this or beat me for this, and you have a better understanding of what they were trying to put into you and instill inside your mind.
I agree. Teray, you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, I mean, like, as far as, how I would respond to that is, that's why you start at home. You educate your child at home. So when they go outside, like, what if my mom's here? Should I do that? What if my dad's here? Should I do that? So I just feel like that education always should start from home. Then when you leave home, then when you're at school, like me now, I'm 27, and now when I think back on the things that I was taught, now it gives me a clear understanding. And maybe it'll be like how I would teach my kids in the future, like, my mom's teaching. I'll just spice it up a little for us, like,
Spice
where
it up.
we at right now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You gotta
Things
spice
are
it.
changing,
Things
Adapt it
different
to the
now.
time.
It's like,
Things are very different.
back then it'd be like, don't go outside by yourself. Now it's like, now you tell your kids, don't post that on social media.
Yeah.
Like it's just changed so much. So it's like, just different age, just have to educate your kids on what's happening now, what's the trends.
Yeah, make it current, because I think a lot of times too, when you have parents who are like old school, they try to bring this old school into the new school, and those two don't vibe well.
Sometimes it don't.
So you just have to let them know, like, okay, so this was happening in the new school, so we have to kind of have a different approach to it, because first of all, people are thinking differently now because we've so much evolved. So we can't have that same perspective and that same mind thinking. So it all goes back down to having those core principles. Like something my grandmother would always say to me is like, the way you always treat people the way you want to be treated. Exactly. And that's something that like I hold very, dearly to me, because I really believe in like, I should treat Loren, I should treat you the same way I want to be treated. Now, albeit you don't always get treated the same way in return, but you are not responsible for anybody else's, actions or inactions. So
what I would say, and you brought a point to my mind about how you treat people and like equal, right? But I know growing up, I don't have any brothers, but I grew up around my male cousins.
All I had was brothers.
It was clear for me that, the boys were raised differently to the girls, right? So I always used to wonder, why is that? Does that have an impact then on how we are when we get older, right? Because, for example, me, I was not allowed to leave out the house at certain times or whatever the case may be. My cousin, he was allowed to go to parties earlier than the age I was allowed to. I think my first party I went to was with him. And he's only about like less than a year older than me.
I could have only gone to parties after a point in time if my brothers say that he would be there and be my guardian angel. And then, they come check on you and say, everything ain't good with you, anybody mess with you, all right, just let me know, I'm right over there, right? So I was only allowed to be around with my brothers because I come from a family with 4 brothers, so I never had sisters. So I was definitely a tomboy. I do all the things with my brothers, and then my cousins. And till one day, one of my cousin's mother, she was just like, "Why do you hang around all these boys? Come, let me take you by your grandma's house where all the girls is." And then that's how I get into all the girly stuff with Jerisha and Regine, because they were my first, I guess, girlfriends, you want to call it.
Yeah, so I think with that, like you said, you get raised around girls and it brings out your softness and everything. You get raised around boys, you can become a tomboy, you end up more tough. So it's like, does it get to a point where sometimes we're too tough when we're raising our boys, Because I think there still has to be that sense of softness, which I don't know if that's common in our community, because we see sometimes where as men get older where they have these walls up. And it might be because, they weren't encouraged to have that sense of,
soft side.
Let me be vulnerable with somebody who I'm getting to know or somebody who is new into my life, So what do you think of that?
You could be raised soft, but life experiences could make you turn hard.
That is true.
You're, like I said, you could be raised in a way where you're vulnerable, I wouldn't say emotional, but not too emotional. But experiences through life will make you see things in a different way and take a different approach to different things now. Because let's say you experienced something, you got hurt, your feelings got hurt, your heart broken or whatever. Now you take the time, make yourself better. Now it's different going into something else, because now it's like, okay, I did this before, but I don't want this to happen again.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take a different approach to this. So I'm maybe I put a little bit of walls up. And let's say it happens again. Another wall goes up. It happened again.
And then you got a wall of China afterwards.
Right. So, yeah, you can be raised soft, but experiences can make you turn hard.
Can harden you.
And it's up to you if you want to actually make yourself that vulnerable again.
I agree. I agree with you, Al, because I'm really an emotional person. I think people who know me would definitely know that. But I've never been so much of a vulnerable person. And because I always saw vulnerability as like, okay, this pity party, and I hate a pity party. So I wasn't too keen on being vulnerable, but I realized that if I'm going to have authentic, very strong relationships with people, there needs to be an element of vulnerability. And every time I was vulnerable with my friends, like my close friends that I have today, we are so close because of those vulnerable moments. And I feel like if you have that, you're able to rely on the strength of your friends and so on. But I completely agree with everything that you said because I feel like I'm the same way. However, my friends would definitely say, she's like, Ziggy, you just get broken and you're ready. Like they liked that about me, that I don't allow something
back
to
up.
yeah, like I don't allow something. I
how
mean,
it
I ain't
should
trying to
be,
put myself in a bad light. So let me just clear that up. But what I'm trying to say is that I try my best to not allow things to impede on who I know myself to be. So as much as things can happen, you need to like kind of figure out like who I am and like realize that sometimes things happen to you not because of what you did, but because of sometimes people be going through their own stuff and they come through all that stuff on you, and then you question like about who you are when it haven't had anything to do with you to begin with.
So it's funny what you said I agree with, and Al said something that reminded me of this thought where it's just like, yes, that's something you should do. When you have hard times, you shouldn't dwell on it. But do you think that with guys, it's like, okay, if something happens to you, it's just like, all right, done. We're just gonna act like it never
Severed.
happened. Severed. Cut right off. Boom. Like, because I know outside looking in, I've been in situations where I've seen things happen or I've had experiences with different people, and with guys, they would just be like, all right, well, that's whatever. Add that. Boom.
Cut.
Yeah, so is that something that is a innate trait? Is that something where, like Al had stated before, when you have so many hurts previously that at this point it's just like, oh, well, probably what's going to happen anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, how I would say it from my standpoint is like, as men, I know we always look at being macho, but at the end of the day, we're still humans. We all have emotions. We tend to hide our emotions more than others.
The female.
Yeah, don't want to say it like that. But, yeah, so we tend to hide our emotions more. But, I feel like it's more of trust. I know you could agree. Like, if I trust you, maybe I can go in detail of what's happening to me.
Right.
Than me just taking it to social media or, an associate that I have, like, hey, this happened to me. But if someone's close to me, I'll be more open to express what's going on and, lean on them for support, and I feel like we always look at men to be macho.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be fine, but we are humans.
And we kind of omit even asking guys sometimes like, how do you feel? We just feel like, oh, well, you look at me. Let me tell you about how I feel now.
Just like
So,
this day went like this. They ain't even gonna ask how you do. Went, no.
Or even dwell and be like, oh, whatever. Anyway, but I have this to say.
He could have had this.
The worst day ever. He could have had the worst day ever.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Just, keeping it PG.
PG-13, I guess, because we ain't gonna have all of, all the whatever. PG-13 is a good place to start.
Right.
Yeah.
But do you wanna?
Well, what I was going
You go first, and I'm gonna go after.
What I was going to say was I agree with that point of, if you trust somebody, you're going to give that into them. And, this idea of the macho man. So I was going to ask, like, how do we define?
Oh my gosh, you're reading my mind. I was gonna say the exact same thing. Yeah. Reconnected, for sure.
But how do we define a man, Because, like, there's been different conversations where it's like, I don't date little boys. I date men.
And who's a little boy and who in
Yeah. What defines that outside of, I guess, physicalities?
I mean, this is just, my perception of it.
And that's
I feel like it's how you feel about us. Like, you know what I mean? And like, what do you see as a man? What's the characteristics of a man that makes a man, and your point of view? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you might see some traits of me that you might like, and Ziggy might see some traits of me that she think is a child. I would just lean it on, what's your characteristics? Like, what do you see in a man that makes a man for you? I would say.
Okay, so then I would go a little further, because I do agree with that. I'd go a little further to ask, okay, what do you define as a man when you're looking amongst
Yourself.
different men?
So, like, for example, like a lot of times you might associate, I feel like a lot of times men associate their success to be who they are. So like if I've accomplished this and I've did this, then this is who I am. But I could be wrong because I'm from the outside looking in. So that's why we want to know like what defines a man. Is it about his success? Is it about his characteristic traits, his personality, principles? Like what is it that defines a man?
And this is amongst yourselves.
I don't think success defines a man
I don't agree with that.
at all.
Okay, well I'm wrong, but
right.
No, this is learning. Thank you. Tell us more.
For me, it's like a man is someone that he handles his business. He takes care of what needs to be taken care of, whether it's his home, his child, his relationships. He handles his stuff on time, every time, and also within his personality traits, like the things that he does. If he doesn't indulge in childish things, there's still a lot of older men that still indulge in
childish.
childish things.
Well, you heard it from Alan. You heard from us, so
Right? So it all depends on his personality, his characteristics, how he handles his situations, and how he handles things going through life.
Yeah. You agree with that one?
Definitely.
So,
because I think, sorry, I just want to butt in. I think one thing for sure, though, I think men really hold dear to him, and I might be wrong again, so y'all can correct me. But it's about trust and loyalty. I think men value those two
Yes,
amongst
a lot.
anything. Trust and loyalty.
Yeah, I mean, think human.
Right?
I know, but guys, it goes a little hard. Like, loyalty means a lot to them, especially amongst their male friends. Like, you hear it in songs, you hear it amongst guys. Like, it's about the loyalty at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Prefer loyalty more than
Love.
yeah.
If somebody, I for sure hear them on songs. Somebody
Yes.
said they rather loyalty than love.
Yeah,
Man, it was 21 Savage.
no, it was not.
No?
That was Kodak, I think.
No, it is not. Oh,
Loyalty
gosh.
over love.
I will play the song later when I remember who it's by. But Blast said
I don't know.
he rather loyalty than love.
That's
Yeah,
a deep
because-
statement.
Yeah, because like I could be around you every day, right? And that's gonna make me love you. Being around you every day, 24. I wouldn't say 24/7, but I'm around you. I'm learning you. I'm getting to know you on a deeper level.
Trying to be in their skin.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I would be in somebody's skin too.
automatically begin to love you. But with loyalty, it's like I got to be able to trust you too. Like if you do something and like I get offended by it or if it hurts me, it's like I can't even trust you anymore. You're not loyal. You ain't loyal to what we got going on.
It's more of a situation too. If I love you, I can say sorry if I do something wrong. But
Right.
if I'm loyal to you, it's like
You can't say sorry
like-
if you mess up.
So I'm saying I love you, but I'm sorry I made a mistake. But loyalty is like it's more to it. Than love.
More to it.
Right.
That's just my view. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Perfect.
If you
So,
break that loyalty and trust, it's like, man, I can't even do nothing with you no more because it's very hard to build that back.
yeah, trust is something
Very,
very hard to
back.
build back, especially if someone keeps proving over time that
Exactly.
you can't even be trustworthy.
Right.
But I love the direction of this conversation. So we're going to dive into, do men have the space to be vulnerable? But we're going to get right back into that right after our quick commercial break. So please don't leave, right?
Are you a fun, friendly person that loves to have a good time and to make people happy? Grace Bay Car Rentals needs you to be a part of their team. When you join the team, you can expect to work hard, be challenged every day, and to have opportunities for continuous learning and advancement. You will receive competitive wages and can earn company awards and bonuses, and we promise you will never be bored. Grace Bay Car Rentals is currently accepting applications for fun, friendly people for rental agents, car washers and drivers, accountants, certified mechanics, and many other positions. Stop by our Grace Bay or Leeward Highway locations to drop off your resume or CV today.
So just before we left, we started to talk about, do men have the space to be vulnerable? And really, do men do self-work? So do they analyze their behaviors and quote unquote notice, I have some childish acts that I need to put away with? And, really just take time to understand themselves and understand whether or not what I'm doing right now, does it align to the person that I say I am or the person that I say I want to be? So guys, do you want to share it with us?
I think I'll pass it over to Al.
All right. So I'll speak on myself because I'm not sure or how everyone else reflects, does or take. Yeah. I'm not sure how everyone works on their self. So for me, I started working on myself. I wouldn't say late because it's never too late when you have to work on yourself and make yourself a better person. What made me start to work on myself because I was doing a lot of stuff that wasn't within myself, and I was doing stuff that I normally wouldn't do, and I realized that. But what made me realize it was there's this book that I read called Awakening Your Life's Purpose by Eckhart Tolle. And in that book, it kind of teaches you to get rid of your ego and kind of helps you to get into your purpose of life and what your passion is and how not to be so emotional about things. And I wouldn't say it's a book that kind of makes you cold. It's just like opening your eyes to what's really going on, what's really within yourself. So I read the book and I just cut everything off. Like I wanted to start fresh. I cut everything off. I started being by myself a lot more. I started reflecting on things that I did in the past and really acknowledging and talking, I wouldn't say blaming myself, but like acknowledging
Taking accountability,
my wrongs.
yeah.
Accountability of my wrongs and my bad doings. And as I started working on myself, I would meet new people, and the things that I already started making myself to be a better person, I'll implement it when I meet new people and, try to really tap into who I really am. And not this person that I was just trying to be because I was just having fun and, So that made me open up my eyes to life in a way where, like, you can't be the way that you are. You have to be better. You have to do better. You have to do more. This is now you're transitioning to actually a man now.
Big man. Big man.
Yeah, big man. You put down all that childish stuff. And putting that down, I realized, a lot of the stuff that I was doing was really stupid. I just knew it wasn't me. I don't even care about the stuff that I did in the past anymore. Like, I wouldn't do that right now because I worked on myself so much to the point where it's like, I don't even settle for things that I don't want. Like, if it's something that's gonna hinder me, I'll let it go. And it wouldn't bother me at all to be like sitting down thinking about it, like I let it go and that's that. That's in the past, I left it there. So working on myself was very, very, very good for myself.
And you like the person that you're operating now, most importantly.
Yeah,
right?
and I'm still working on myself.
It's a constant
continuing
work in
journey.
progress.
You never
Yeah.
stop. You continue. And
Every
go,
day you wake up, you're like, dang, I gotta work.
Yeah.
It's like, you know you
because-
shouldn't do that.
Because now it's like you work on yourself so much. When you do something wrong, you take accountability for it much faster.
Yeah.
And you more, how can I put it? You're more,
Aware of it.
yeah, you're more aware of your wrongdoings. And you don't do it anymore. Like, you'll make that mistake and you'll be like, yo, like, why did I do that?
You check
okay.
yourself.
Yeah, you check yourself before you rack yourself.
Hey, I like that. I can never use that in my vocabulary.
So yeah, that's myself working on myself. That was the process that I went through and still going through to this day.
What would you say, Teray?
For me, I would say, from a teenager, from high school going into college and then leaving college, I was always blessed with a good circle, and older men in my circle, men even my age in my circle, and I see mistakes they made, and and being able to communicate with them, and then telling me like, yo, don't do that because that's the consequences, and it aligns again far as like the education system, far as in the house now, with your circle, people expressing things that they went through in life, and you took hold of it, and like, I'm not gonna go down that road because my friend went down that road and that happened to him, or I went down this road and I told my friend and he possibly won't go down that road, and that's why I always tell people, your circle is very, very important. Your circle, it can educate you, or if it's a bad circle, it can hurt you. But I would lean to say, for us, like me working on myself is being around a good circle of people and educating myself on things what not to do, and also expressing things that I've went through to help them as well.
Okay, so what both of you guys said, I picked up something that I think links where, Al was saying he checks himself now, doing all this self-work and
Check
looking
before
back.
you wreck.
Yeah, check before you wreck. And with you saying you've had older friends of yours say to you, look, all right, this is what I did, don't even do that. Right? So having those kind of aspects around where you're able to reflect either on yourself or reflect on what someone else did. So my question now is, do you guys do that in real time with your friends? Do you check your friends in real time and say, yo, listen, you shouldn't have done that? Or is it something where in guys or in groups of men where, it's just like, I'm gonna let my homie do him. That's
You know what they say? They say, but that's big man over there. I can't tell big man what to do.
I mean,
I like how big man tell a big man what to do. I can't tell big man.
tell big man what to do.
With my group of friends, well, I consider I also my brothers. So they always, let me know or let any of us know within our group, what you did wasn't right or what you're doing ain't right. So that's why I have a lot of respect for all of my brothers because, we check ourselves. We check everybody. Whether our close is, it doesn't matter. If you're doing something wrong or doing something bad, like, put you to the side, give you a call, send you a message.
But you come.
Take foolishness.
It's like that, And especially how, we're a part of a society now where people are watching all the time.
all the time.
And cameras are everywhere.
Even
And
when
if
even when you think people ain't watching, they be watching.
Yes, and like I said, cameras everywhere. So if you're out somewhere, you're behaving a certain way, we gotta put a stop to that because if you're a part of society and you're like a businessman in society,
Right.
You're a part of a lot of big time companies or you have big time clients. You can't be a certain way in public.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't be doing certain things in public because you never know who's watching you. You never know who's watching
Appearance
you.
is important.
Tote story.
Exactly.
And you say you being a businessman as well.
Right.
Your competitor would love to say, well, yeah, that's a good business, but the owner, woo, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
So that's that's very interesting that you both guys said that because in my friend group, I value, like both of you said, having the right circle of friends. Because my friends, one thing with them, they ain't gonna sugarcoat nothing. So they come into you and they can tell you exactly how it is, whether you like it or not, which I always appreciate. But a lot of times they do come with this compassionate side. So they don't. It's from a place of speaking life into you, whereas they like, Loren, I know you are this person and you're not this person. I realize that you're not in alignment to, who you are. And I just want to let you know that, first of all, I love you, that I think that you're this and you're that, and you don't need to act outside of who you are, which is one of the reasons why I really value and highly love my friends, because they will definitely check me, but in a way that is compassionate. So you still feel like I don't need to put up a wall. I don't need to say, well, why is she talking to me like that? Like, does she think of me this kind of way, right? So it gives that space for vulnerability, but it also allows you to know that you have someone that you can have support in.
So it's like with your friend saying, I think highly of you, and how you're moving right now, it's not matching with how you're trying to be or where I know you want to get in life. So having that sense of checking.
Yeah.
Checking in on yourself before you really do.
Every time you say check, I think check before you act.
And that being a whole good point. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.
Like Teray said, the competitors are out there looking like, hey, listen, some of you right here doing something.
Edge right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Stop your whole flow. Your whole business.
Yeah.
The whole motion.
Because people love to point out the bad things that you're doing. And a lot of times, even when people are checking you too, they love to point at it and kind of really saddle on that. But I feel like we have to shift it from this whole, oh, you did this, or you said TV, this. Like, speak life into that person of who you know they are, because that is so powerful. It's so much more than just saying, oh, you're this, you're that. Right, that allows someone to take back and say, wow, because sometimes we don't always see ourselves in the same light.
Right.
And someone would see that and be like, wait. This person say all of this, okay, so something ain't adding up. Like, I need to step into who I am. Because one thing my friend said to me, she was just like, see, I know that you're an amazing person, like you're a phenomenal person, like you're this and this and that. You never need to act outside of who you are because God has amazing things in store for you. And this was out of the blue, and I was just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I have the chat start, but those things mean so much to me. Because sometimes you you might be in a space where it's really clustered and a lot of things is happening and you're trying to figure things out, but to have that person be like, okay, but I see this in you. So this is who I know you can be, and you have that ability to be that person.
Right.
I want to switch the topic just a little bit because we kind of touched on it earlier when we were talking about vulnerability, but I want to know, like, as men, do you feel pressured to be strong men, or do you feel pressure to always be this voice of reason or this person who is leading, you know?
And can men, just to add into that, and can men admit that, today I don't have what it takes, right? Like we all have our off days and it's just like
Teray said, we're all human.
Yeah, we're all human. So today I can't be macho man, but tomorrow I might be able to do a little something for you, but not today.
That depends, though. It depends because you're not going to be vulnerable with everybody.
Yeah.
That's something that you should really hold dear to you because, like, when you open up and be vulnerable to someone and you're not sure of their intentions, you don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to react. Sometimes you can be vulnerable to someone and they could be cold shoulder or nonchalant. And that will make you feel away like, why did I even
bother to say something?
be vulnerable with you now?
Yeah.
And that's going to play with your mind a bit too. Because it's like, okay, I tried it before, I'm not going to try it again. Or maybe what if I try it again and get the same result? So it all depends on who it is and that trust level. You have to be able to trust that person to be vulnerable with them also. Because you're not going to be vulnerable with someone you don't trust. And trust is something that you have to build and earn very, very, very much. Like, you don't just trust somebody just as soon as you meet them. And you don't be vulnerable with somebody as soon as you meet them.
Exactly.
Yeah. They'll use it against you right away.
Right.
In bad cases, And I think as a society, we don't give men enough credit for certain things. Like,
Macho all the time.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
don't
sure,
sing songs of praises. I think you don't say, like, man, you did a good job today. Like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh.
Another thing too, that goes a long way too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you working very, very hard, and it's like you don't get no
kind of congrats.
Yeah,
congrats, you're doing a good job. And it's
love
like,
what you're doing, love how you're handling your business, you're taking care of your kids or whatever the case may be. Like, because words of one of my love languages is words of affirmation.
I was actually gonna say.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? No, not questioning everything.
Just the other day at work, my boss said to me, great job, and literally it felt like I got a gold sticker. So
it empowers you, makes you feel good,
and it makes you want to do more of that thing because you're like, okay, so this is not just in vain. So this is getting this kind of reaction. I mean, but not just that kind of reaction, but you understand that it's adding value. So you're like, you know what, I'm going out of it. So if you see I got your boyfriend doing chores around the house, oh my gosh, you did an amazing job. Now you want to do all the chores again.
Windows. Oh, you did a great.
Keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
So that's one less job for you to do.
Well, guys, this has been such a great conversation, and we're going to come back real soon, right after this commercial break, with even more for you. So stay tuned.
To stay up to date with our latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button.
Welcome back to Let's Get Candid. Right before we left for break, we were talking really deeply about how things such as words of affirmation can encourage a man, ways that we can ensure that men feel like they're doing a great job.
They feel loved.
They feel loved and appreciated. So I want to go deeper into this. So guys, let us know as
so we can
the women's
help
delegation. Let us know, how can women support you better, be a better support system for you?
Right. I mean, personally for me, I feel like, a woman is can be the key to a man's success,
Yeah.
They normally see things that we can't see, with you being a business owner.
Right. I agree with that.
It's sometimes like we got a big heart, and then your girl will come and be like, "Nah, you're not supposed to run it that way. It's supposed to be this way."
Right.
Your friends will come and ask you for a discount before they ask your girl or
Right.
your wife. I feel like even in chess, the queen's in front of the king. She plays an important role, and I think like without you guys, it'd be hard for us.
How sweet. The compliment is nice.
I was gonna say, we're out here feeling valued. We're supposed to talk about valuing you guys. But I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with him too. Especially when he says like, you guys see more than we can see. For a business owner like myself, I don't have a female companion or partner that can point things out. So I point things out by myself, but I do have female friends I send stuff to and be like, okay, change that, make change to this. You need help with this? Can I help with this? Send me this and let me look over it, you know? And I also have my sisters that point things out to me also. So like you said, women see things that we can't see. And that helps with support, and it makes us come to you more and be more vulnerable now. Because you're helping us.
Yeah.
And things that we can't see. You're showing me something that.
You're building trust.
Right.
Because I think woman is deep, a really deep person. So like, you know, you're going to look, well, for me, I know I looking into the whole nitty gritty of everything. I'm very detailed and very organized. So I want to look at really deep into it. And then I'm like, okay, how is it perceived? So I think because of women, that aspect to women where they're very deep, they got to go deeper into it, where sometimes men may not, you know, like you said, not see it. But it's definitely a two-way street, because sometimes females, we actually need the man to see something that we may not see because of, you know, our limitations or, you know, our perspectives per se.
You know, and I agree, because I personally think that women and men balance each other out. So there's things on our end we're not going to see. And, you know,
Those step in the
where we might be very emotional about things and be naive at times, you guys are able to see that and be like, nah, listen, this ain't how you think it going, right? Whereas on our end, like I can say for myself, back when I used to proofread things, and I'd be like, okay, now how you've worded this, it's not going to come off in a way that's professional or appropriate for what you're trying to put forward, you know? So I think it's a lot of a balancing act, which can be a lot, because if you have, like, personalities can domineer over each other at certain times, and it's something that's difficult but necessary,
Right.
you know? So would you guys say that in the situations you are in right now and in your life right now, the impact that women have had on you has been something that is positive towards what you might teach a younger generation? You know, for example, Teray, you were talking earlier about how things are changing, and we have younger people growing up in a time that's even different to how we grew up in those 10 years ago, right?
You was growing up 10 years ago?
Teray was 18 years ago, right? So that's, you still fresh off the block at the
17.
17, my bad. But, you know, so in those periods of time, things have changed. So has the impact of women influenced how you look at things, which then influences how you go forward teaching?
Respond.
Yeah.
Well, for me, you know, I spent a lot of time with my mom. Shout out to my mom. Show me a grind. You know, shout out to her. But yeah, I spent a lot of time with her, and you know, a lot of her teachings that she instilled with me from primary school, high school, college, you know, even to right now, you know, are still with me. And like I said, like, I know a lot of young men that was raised by, you know, women. And sometimes, like, we talk about business, some things women see that men can't see. And there's some things, we can go on this topic as well, is that it's good to have, you know, both your parents, because some things your mom can teach you that your dad can't teach you, and some things your dad can teach you that your mom can't teach you. And, you know, I would say for us, like, looking back then to now, I've seen a lot of parents now than in the past, where it's like kids being raised by single parents, and it only could benefit you for us, like, having both parents. But with having a mom, like with me, like I said again, like, so much things that she instilled in me.
Yeah,
you know?
like those stuff that you learn from your mom growing up, it doesn't leave you.
Never.
It stays with you. You'll always remember that. That's your mom. Like, that's supposed to be the leading lady in your life.
Exactly.
So, of course, whatever she teaches you should always be with you, and you should use it within yourself to add on to it, add more to it. Like, let's say she teaches you, okay, be this way to women, be soft with women, and you use that, and you use what you learn from yourself, and that makes you a bit more softer towards women, you know, if you understand.
Okay.
That's nice.
More like understanding.
Yeah, more
Yeah, it's
understanding.
definitely an understanding thing. You have to take time to understand the person because everyone is different. So you need to understand what makes this person tick. And, what works for them because you might do something with someone else and it just doesn't work. But you have to take that time to understand what works for this. That's the only way I feel like you can really show up and show and give more value if I know what you would rather to have than to not to have. Right. So women do bring that element to men. So we're glad that you honestly listen. It was such an amazing conversation that we had with you both. I don't know if Loren want to say anything before we go to the next part, but
No, because I'm very excited for this part.
so we're to the part of the segment where it's what you know about me, right? Because we know a lot of people think that they know you and they don't know you. So we're gonna try to get that sorted out. So what you basically do is just pick a question and we will all answer that question so no one has to feel pressure. With answering it. We don't know what the questions are, so that's the beauty of it all.
Okay.
So, Mr. Al, you could
I was
kick us
about to
off.
say, if you say Mr. Smith, they're both Mr. Smith.
Pick anyone, right?
Anyone, Al. Al, out here shuffling cards.
See what it feeling like.
What is the greatest hurdle you've overcome?
Shoot, that's deep, man.
You don't lie.
That's very
Now I'm in a deep think mode. What is it? What is it for me?
Okay.
You
You want me to start? I'll start. For myself, I think the greatest hurdle for me to overcome was getting outside of being just my parents' daughter. So because I grew up with parents who are well known in this community, it was difficult for me to be myself in certain spaces because there was always this impression of, you're this one's daughter, you shouldn't be doing this. How dare you? How dare you? Going out to parties, please, right? And for me, I think at times I lost myself in that, where it was like I always have to keep up with what other people want me to keep up with. And it wasn't until I moved away and really started thinking about, okay, who am I? What do I want out of life? Did I realize I don't have to be what everybody else wants me to be? And being away from home for 4 years where I didn't have to be around people from home, it instilled in me who I really am. It made that my habit rather than habit being, oh, okay, if they know my dad, then I need to be very, or they know my mom. So it's like,
Yeah.
And I got outside of the box. So even now, I'm loud. Which, grew up being the kind of kid where you have to be quite reserved and proper. I like to dance. I'll make very crude jokes at times. And I think for that, it was something big for me to get over because for a very large portion of my life, I was just known as their daughter rather than Loren.
Right. So basically, your own identity then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let the gentleman go next.
I think the greatest hurdle I've overcome is overcoming my past self and becoming who I am now. I say that because, I was kind of wild. I got into a lot of...
Hey, it's a song, man. We said "Wild in the Bible." I said the wrong song.
I got into a lot of things and was doing a lot of things that were outrageous. So
Man, using these strong ones.
I think that's my greatest hurdle I've overcome. Not dwelling on that anymore. I can think about it, I can laugh about it now, but it's something that I'm proud of that I wouldn't ever do those things again. I'm so head steady and focused on being a better person every day that stuff doesn't even come into play anymore. I'm not intrigued by that anymore. That's done and dusted.
Nice.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say vulnerability, right? And I know that sounds very like, whatever. But because I'm not a vulnerable person, and I've realized that because I'm not a vulnerable person, I felt like I was not showing certain parts of who I am, I wasn't operating in my authentic self. So it was just what I felt I should be in that situation per se. And so that's why now I always say like I'm on this really authentic journey of who I am and allowing that to shine. Whatever that is, because I'm really goofy, I'm really funny, I like to crack jokes, I love to laugh at stupid jokes. But that's just who I am, and I want to show more of who I am to persons that I interact with. And I realized that ever since I've started to do that, and I started doing that when I moved back home in 2020, I find that I've created so many beautiful friendships and relationships that I feel like I would never have created, or it would never be as strong as it is if I wasn't vulnerable. And being vulnerable also allows people to be relatable to you. And I'm on this thing where I want to be impactful, and I want people to see me and be inspired, right? Inspire change. And so I need to be able to be relatable, but I need people to also relate to me, to see that I am a human. I don't always have it together. I mean, some days it's great, some days it's bad, but it is what it is. And that's just what I want. I want people to see I'm human, most of all, that I do go through everything like everyone else. And you have the ability to get through it if you have the intention, if you allow God to align you, if you pay attention to your purpose. And finding your purpose is a deep self-work that I did in 2020 when I moved back home. And it's like, who am I? What do I want to be? And I just don't want to be mediocre, but I want to be who God has created me to be. And every day I've seen how that has been aligning. I've been seeing how God has been piecing each of that together. So I'm just in a happy, really, really excited state of my life, because I can start to see how all of that has, allowed me to become the person that I am and continue to strive to be.
Nice.
Right? I was saying the same thing. Nice. Like, yeah.
Right? So I don't know if you would call this a hurdle, but something that I'm proud of, as far as like what I say overcoming is just learning how to trust the process, something I live by. Sometimes it takes 5 years to become an overnight success. And with today's world, we talk about, educating from the 1990s to educating in 2022. Is like social media, which everybody is on.
Yeah.
Sometimes it tend to like rush people process, Yeah. Everybody posting their wins, but nobody never posts when they take their L's. And if anybody's listening, I always like to tell people is to trust your process, just to stay patient.
Right.
Trust your process, stay patient, stay ambitious, and whatever goal you have, it's going to come into fruition. You know what I mean? Patience and trusting the process.
And you said that, and a scripture came to my mind because I was heavy in the Bible back in 2020. And watching sermons, but it was something that I can't remember where exactly it was, but it's that, perseverance and, the tribulations that you go through, they build your character, they build who you are. And it's important to go through those things, because you're not going to be who you are if you don't go through those things that helps to shape your mind and your perspectives and how you see things. So that's one of the things that I hold close to me when I feel like, I'm being tested or going through something, is that these things create character. Exactly. They make me who I am. And there's also this sermon that I watched, T.D. Jakes' The Crushing or something like that. And how when you're crushed, God, really creates you into this beautiful masterpiece, but you have to go through the pressure.
Right.
And I remember I pray and say, God, I won't be crushed, I'll be crushed. And then after I start crushing, I was like, okay.
Oh, way too much.
What type of thing I asked for now? But I'm so glad for the crushing, because I would never be who I am. And just to wrap this up, I think before I went to university in 2016, 2017, I was at church, and a pastor, she had said something to me that stuck with me forever. And she was just like, you're gonna go through the fire or something like that, and you're gonna come out like pure gold. And like I wrote that on every book, I wrote that on everything. Like you're gonna go through the process, and you're gonna become this thing of value. You're gonna have this substance to you that does not have any monetary value. And so I, like you said, trust the process, because your life is gonna take you on a beautiful journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
guys,
we gotta wrap this part up.
This has been so good, though. This conversation that I nearly don't want it to end, but
It has to.
a commercial break calls. So guys,
Don't leave, because I know it's.
This message is brought to you by Island Bargains.
It has been an amazing discussion tonight. I am so glad that we had both Teray Smith and Aulden Smith and to join in on this conversation. And like I mentioned earlier, this has been like, they know in the group chat, I've been like, this conversation has to happen. And I can find somebody. I scroll up and down on my Instagram, who can come, who can come, who can come. And I'm so glad that you both accepted the invitation because it is a very timely conversation to have. We don't have a lot of conversations about men or having their input and, their perspective on different things. We just assume we know, or we just assume we run the show, and, that's what it is. So it's been a pleasure to have you both here. But I want to hear, just before we wrap it up, what was your main or key takeaways from the show?
Not all at once. Not all at once.
The main keys and takeaways, the whole conversation was just great. Everything that we spoke about, being vulnerable, how women can support men, our traits from our mothers growing up, being raised by our mothers and parents, and the whole conversation, and love languages also. It's like, it was very, very good, and I had a very, very great time. Like, the first time. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
Very, 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 very nice.
Thank you. Teray.
For me,
I was like, I reiterated statement.
I feel like, it's a pleasure for me being here. Thank you so much for inviting me. And hopefully, the things that we talked on today, whoever's watching, we possibly can touch them or, just take some of the things that we say and just use it in their day-to-day life and, possibly assist them, far as like, Al talking, saying it's never too late, to work on yourself. And, with me talking about, trusting your process, and I feel like just to help inspire people. And I think this is really good what you young ladies are doing. I wish you the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you so much for being on the show. You don't get too emotional. I'm not an emotional person in public, but
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys even agreeing to come on. And Ziggy said something earlier. She said this is a very timely conversation. In my opinion, this is a conversation that's been overdue.
yeah,
You
long
know?
overdue. Long time is overdue.
Ziggy got us all for everything under the sun. But guys, once again, just thank you so much for coming on. For you guys watching at home, thank you so much for watching Let's Get Candid, where we are having authentic and transparent conversations. Yeah. So see you on the next episode.
Bye.